Coming up this week on the OK Bloomer podcast.
Rhonda Jo Applegate is like glitter. She just will not go away. But sorry, could we just press pause and talk about how weird this is? That Blossom is writing a letter to her mom telling the story about how her mom's dad is watching pornography. Like,
I wrote that in my notes
too.
About how her son snuck in a porno tape and now her father is watching this tape and she happens to just be telling her mother this story. Like,
you wonder why this poor woman left. It's like this. And he's super upset by what happens because Buzz wanted to masturbate to Steven Seagal.
Well,
don't know about the future. Don't.
They don't care about the future, because they live it in the past. Sal and Curtis are taking all 5 seasons of Blossom to task. You'll laugh, you'll cry, you'll be weak in the knees. This show's got more range than this on the keys. Only gal in the house, and that's how she goes. One brother was a junkie, and the other one was. Weekly lessons coming fast in the Russo flat. Blossom's teenage girl problems are as big as her hat. So take your opinionations and make them shine. It's the OK Bloomer podcast, and it's about damn time.
Don't know. Don't know. Don't know.
You're watching the OK Bloomer podcast right here on the Dufferin Avenue Media Network. This is our weekly review of the 1990 sitcom Blossom. We're going episode by episode. A couple of adult males going back and rewatching, or I guess watching for the first time, because I have never seen this show before. But it was something we talked about often. And during COVID lockdown, we thought we'd start this podcast. I'm Curtis Anderson alongside Sal Accardo. I never know how to start these things, Sal. Was that acceptable? Was that meandering? Was that thumbs up?
That sounds about right.
Jump in anytime you want.
It's a very accurate description of what we do here, which is two unqualified, 30, 40-something males talking about Blossom, which is,
We just felt if we're wasting our own time, we should probably be wasting your time as well. So it died.
Well, I mean, if people are sitting through this,
it was audio only for a long time, and then it died. And then when the good people of the Dufferin Avenue Media Network came to us and were like, "Would you bring the show back on our network?" I said, "Oh hell yeah, I would," because I miss the Russo house and I miss the lessons. So here we are, flashy new season,
and I miss the palling around with you, Curtis.
And
I do miss
this camaraderie. I do miss us making each other laugh. And now we've added the Phenom to the team, and we're making the Phenom laugh. He's in there in the ones and twos, making sure this looks and sounds great as we power through the third season of 1992's Blossom. We've is Buzz just gone?
It's hard to say. I mean,
he's just we've replaced Buzz with these two new characters
on the main
and I
cast.
thought I didn't like Buzz, but now I miss him already because I'm not a fan of Blossom's apparently long-term boyfriend, Vinny Vintardi or whatever his name is, and Rhonda Jo Applegate is like glitter. She just will not go away. She will not go away, and I want her gone. I want both these characters gone. But I mean, I guess you got to progress the show. You got to move forward, and they're looking for their Urkel, I think, still. They don't know that Joey Lawrence is their Urkel yet. They're adding these new characters, and like I have no idea what they feel Rhonda Jo Applegate is bringing to the table, or the uneven character that we are going to really apparently get to know. I thought Blossom's boyfriend was going to be like a 2-episode and done, but you say he's going to be here for a long time.
Well, his name is in the main credits, so I think he's here for at least a little while longer. So we got to get used to having Vinny around. That's for sure. What do we got, man? What are we talking? Season 3, episode 2.
Season 3, episode 2 is Dear Mom. IMDb says, in Blossom's letter to her mother, she documents how she discovered Anthony having a drink following 2 years of sobriety. TV Database says Blossom writes a letter to her mother about Vinny. And Disney Plus says Blossom reflects as she pens a letter to her mom.
Yeah. Very good. Now, I don't know if this is going to get us taken. I don't know if this is going to get us taken down off YouTube or not, but
You all appreciate it.
I thought that's what they were going for with the last episode. That's what I thought they were going for, because the last one was called The Runaway, which is like, Bon Jovi song. So I thought they were going Dear Mama, like Tupac reference
Yeah,
for
it's
the
all street.
Yeah.
The Roxy Wink Evans is like gonna bring it down to like the kids level. Just gonna name every episode after a popular song this season, right?
And Phenom, I'm sorry if we have to cut all that out.
I think the rule is you can play 6 seconds.
Oh, we might have done it. All right,
we'll
cool.
cut it after 6 seconds.
Amazing.
I'll bring up a graphic of Jenna Von Oy that says 6 seconds, and then it'll just go
Nice.
it'll go blank, and it'll just be us rocking.
Nice.
I'll have
so
I'll add some sort of Mr. Russo. I'll auto tune. I'll use AI. I'll say I want Jenna Von Oy as 6 singing Tupac, and I'll add that in. I'm not going to do any of that because I'm incredibly lazy when I edit these.
Right. Well, that's okay. The thought was there. That's all we could ask for.
You could imagine.
Yeah.
Awesome
I don't know
that would
why
be.
this episode I started tracking. The episode was written by Don Rio and directed by Bill Bixby.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I was also very sad. I was worried cold opens are dead because this is the second one with no cold open. The era of cold open, I thought, was officially dead.
Yeah.
Asks me if I want to skip the intro, and oh god, not only do I not skip the intro, I believe I watched it twice. I'm so excited. I'm so enamored with the new one with the full characters, and it's not just Blossom dancing in Dead Agnes's shirt anymore. It's so good. It's so good. Love it.
Agreed.
We start with Corel Draw, Sal. We have the Corel Draw weird filter thing that I always say looks like the styrofoam cups from the 90s. And
When I looked it up, and that Corel Draw thing is like a mainstay till the end of the show now. So this is like their new thing.
So this is like we hit reset. Season 3 kind of started the new way we're going to do the show.
It kind of feels like
for
it.
the last. Does it only go 5 seasons?
Yeah.
Wow. That actually doesn't seem like it's going to take that long to power through this.
It doesn't actually.
No,
how are we already on season 3? That's pretty wild.
Yeah. Judith Allison, Richmond, Goldstein, Price, Glenn Merzer produced it, and Don Rio by himself wrote it. So expectations low. Go Sal.
Yeah. And there's some very Don Rio moments that I point out as the episode goes on. So as you mentioned, no cold opens. It just starts with that artsy intro and some kick-ass sax, because that happens again. I love it. Starts with Blossom writing at her desk in her room, and she's narrating it via voiceover. Dear Mama. She's writing to her mom, and she's writing to her about Vinny, although the episode almost has nothing to do with Vinny whatsoever. There's a weird cutaway of Vinny in dream clouds staring directly into the camera. And this is where I wrote, like, this show is becoming more like Saved by the Bell. Like, this is a Saved by the Bell thing, 100% right here.
I was so uncomfortable, and they kept going back to it. It was just a close-up of that actor with clouds behind him, just like smiling and making bedroom eyes at the camera. And they showed it 3 times, and each time I like looked away. And to be fair, I usually skip this part.
Yeah, it was. I don't know what they were trying to go for here, but she's explaining to her mom about how her and Vinny started dating, and then there's like quick cuts of her and Vinny studying at the kitchen table, and then there's another cutaway of like it's Vinny and Nick's like sitting at the table, and it's just cutting back and forth of them staring at each other, and like Nick's looking very angry and Vinny's just looking like really stupid, and there's no dialogue, and the crowd is laughing so hard at this.
This was just so schizophrenic. They're just throwing old and new footage together.
Yeah.
It's weird. We've never seen anything like this.
No,
like
and
you
it was
said,
hard
in
to
Blossom.
follow and take notes of, because like everything was cutting so quickly.
And this is
And then-
where the despair sunk in that the focal point of season 3 is 100% going to be Vinny Positardi or Vinny Bonatardi. And I'm not excited for this.
No. And then it cuts back. They're all watching TV on the couch. Nick steps on Vinny's foot. And this is where I wrote, like, there's too much to keep track of. There's just like too many quick cuts here that it's not really much of anything. And that's about as far as she really goes with telling her mom about Vinny.
And
Like,
then
she
as we have a sign of the end of times for Blossom, who saves this episode? It's Joey and Buzz. Buzz isn't gone. I thought Buzz was gone for sure. But out of
Thought so.
nowhere, we have a B storyline that is way better than the A storyline, I feel, in this episode.
Yeah, but it's like it starts out as the B storyline, especially when she's describing it, but then it almost becomes the main storyline and the way that it ties in at the end of the episode. So she's telling a story about how Joey had a porno tape in his backpack and then he left it in the living room. And
He did the
I got
classic-
some notes, but you go ahead.
Well, he did the classic. He took a porno tape and he put it inside a regular movie case
Yes.
to conceal it.
Yeah.
So he put a porno movie inside a Steven Seagal Above the Law VHS case. And this reminded me of a story growing up. There's this amazing little, you were probably there, by my parents' house. There's this little confectionery like a block away. And back in the 90s, nobody went there to rent movies or video games. So like they would get new releases at this stupid little confectionery. So it was like on
Right.
like the day Mortal Kombat 2 dropped for the SNES, it was like sold out everywhere, but they had it. I rented Royal Rumble for the Super Nintendo there all the time. They always had new releases because no one was renting from there. So I was in there one night renting a movie, and there was this group of, I mean, I was probably in high school, and the girls were probably in like grade 7, maybe 8, and they were trying to rent this, like, they didn't have porn there, but it was basically like, a sketchy thriller with like, half naked people on the front. And they went up there and they were trying to rent this, and the guy that worked there was like, are you girls old enough? And they're like, yeah. And he's like, okay. So he goes to the wall and he gets the movie and he gives it to him, and the girls are like, and they all giggle and go running out with the movie. And I looked at him and I was like, what just happened? And he starts laughing. He's like, I gave him Kindergarten Cop. So he like did the reverse. He put Kindergarten Cop in the sleeve and gave him, and they ran.
Wow.
And I just wish I could have seen the look on their faces when they got home and realized they got duped, Sal.
That's amazing.
I
I gotta pause you there because I went down a crazy rabbit hole with
All
this.
yours, buddy.
Have you seen this movie Above the Law with
No,
Steven
I
Seagal?
don't think I have.
I've never even heard of it, and I
I've
went
heard
and
of
watched
it because it's a punchline.
Yeah, I went
Yeah.
and watched the trailer for it because I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be amazing." Above the Law came out in 1988. The synopsis is a former special operations Vietnam vet works as a Chicago cop and uncovers CIA wrongdoing, starring Steven Seagal, Pam Grier, and Sharon Stone. And I watched the trailer, and this is all from the voiceover. Steven Seagal is Nico, a covert op trained to survive in Vietnam. Nico has a 6th-degree black belt in Aikido and a family in the mafia. Nico's a cop with a bad attitude. And as they're doing this, the word Nico keeps flashing on the screen, which leads me to believe that the movie was supposed to be called Nico. And then at the very end of the trailer, it's like gunshots, like and like NICO come up on the screen. And yeah, the movie was supposed to be called Nico. And that's as far as I got. But
amazing.
Yeah, but
So
yeah,
what
that
you're saying
sounds
is
like a very
he
Steven
was
Seagal
above the
movie.
law.
He was above the law, and his family was in the mob. It looked like a real classic. But I had to watch the trailer to know.
That's good stuff. So Buzz comes home, and this really annoys Joey. Or no, sorry.
Yeah.
Buzz comes home, and no one is there. So he sits down at the table, and he pops in above the law. And I wrote, and he's super upset by what happens because Buzz wanted to masturbate to Steven Seagal.
Well, yeah, right.
And
He
he's like,
looks
"This
disappointed
isn't
at first.
Steven Seagal?
But then it was like, I don't know if I want to watch this. Like, it's so fitting for the Buzz character to be the one to discover a porno tape. But he's just sitting there as the camera is like slowly zooming in on his face with the realization. And then there's just like a random bowl of nuts, and he's just like constantly just like shoving them into his mouth. And I was
Without
like, this is
breaking
making
eye
me very
contact.
uncomfortable. But the episode was written by Don Rio, so
I
this all checks out.
I have to say, this is the funniest Buzz has ever been to me. Like you said, it's this slow zoom in his face as he realizes when he's actually watching it. He's just like, he's kind of like almost missing his mouth. And then at one point, he just goes. I laughed so hard when he did a double shoulder check.
Yeah.
It's just like winning the lottery for Buzz. Oh my god, I really enjoyed this.
And then this next scene,
that 5 second zoom is the funniest this character has ever been to me.
Yeah, yeah, it's so good. So this next scene, I feel like, is totally a Don Rio take because.
But sorry, could we just press pause and talk about how weird this is? That Blossom is writing a letter to her mom, telling the story about how her mom's dad is watching pornography. Like,
I wrote that in my notes too, about how her son snuck in a porno tape and now her father is watching this tape and she's happens to just be telling her mother this story. Like,
you wonder why this poor woman left.
Yeah.
It's like this.
So good.
Okay.
So yeah, this next scene feels like a total Don Rio shot because it's Blossom sitting at the table talking to Nick and saying how her life sometimes feels like Seinfeld, and she's fully dressed as Elaine, asking about if this coffee is decaf. And then the whole scene is a conversation about decaf coffee. And it was like, I don't know if they were trying to take a shot at Seinfeld here, but it was a pretty good take on how they just stretch a scene of absolutely nothing into an entire episode. And they're going back and forth about the decaf coffee, whatever. And now she's telling her mom how there's like this D plot storyline about how Nick suddenly has glasses and Blossom doesn't notice that he's wearing glasses. And that this was forced into the scene, which was, I don't know how I feel about this part of the story.
So they do a Seinfeld parody and it bombs, but to be fair, Blossom did really well.
I thought she did great.
Was better acting. Like she really, it was just so forced and had no reason.
Yeah, I thought it was good. But
yeah, she showed incredible range.
But the whole thing of Nick wearing glasses now, which comes into play later on, was kind of forced into this scene and was also kind of pointless.
So Tony comes in hot, and it's his 2-year sobriety birthday. And once again, we have a lot of weird camera movements with this scene, where we start with like 2 shots and zoom into 1 shot, and it's not something this show has ever done before, and it's not something you see a lot in television anyway. It's just, I don't know what they're trying to do here. And instead of too many cooks or the Corel draw, we get a PowerPoint video flip.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, we got like a weird like 3D transition.
Yeah. So they go out to celebrate his sobriety. And how does Mr. Tony celebrate his 2-year sobriety, Sal? By getting pissed.
Well, that's right. He comes home. The room is empty. And he walks up to the liquor cabinet, but not before Blossom's at the top of the stairs witnessing all of this wearing a kimono. So she sees him pull a bottle of booze out of the liquor cabinet, sits on the couch. He's just kind of staring at the bottle, and he takes a sip of it. And then we get a freeze frame with a watercolor around it.
Yeah. And I sat there and I said, okay, how are they going to get out of this? Like, how are they going to, because they're not going to have Anthony fall off the wagon for something weird.
I didn't think so either. But
so I thought, okay, the payoff is going to be that Joey actually like drank that vodka and replaced it with water.
Switched it out with water.
Yeah.
I thought maybe something like that might come down.
And then it made me laugh because that actually played out in my adult life. Remember when we had that party at my parents' house? And we drank that giant thing of Crown Royal, and I just filled it back up with water. And then years later, my dad was like, do you want this? Which is funny because that did not happen while we were teenagers. That happened like when we were adults.
Fully an adult. You replaced Crown Royal with water?
Yeah. Well, it's like Yeah, I did.
That doesn't even make sense.
It
like wouldn't even look the same.
What?
Oh,
it's in a purple bottle.
Oh, okay.
And they never drank it. I was like, they're never gonna. I don't know.
Why
I think that was like, I think I did it as like a joke. Like that night we drank it, I'm like, oh, I better fill this up. You know, like, haha.
Okay.
This happens on Blossom kind of thing. and put it back in the
Yeah,
cupboard.
yeah, I'm sure that's exactly what you said.
Well, you know, it was because it's
Oh
a
man,
sitcom trope.
I'm so living a Blossom storyline right now.
I did not use Blossom as the example, but I think I did it as a funny, like, oh yeah, like this is what they do in TV. Like they're never gonna notice. And then years later, my dad was like, "Do you want this?" And I was like,
No, pass.
"No,
You could
it's
just
water from
you could just dump that water out.
2010."
I don't want any of that. So yeah, Blossom's then explaining in the letter that she wanted to confide in people who promised that they weren't going to, expose what she saw. And then there's quick cuts of Joey, Six, and Buzz promising they won't tell anyone. And when Buzz holds up his hand, being like, "I promise I won't tell anyone," the crowd laughed so hysterically, and I had to rewind it to see what he said again because I didn't understand why. The crowd was just going nuts at Buzz being like, "Yeah, I promise I won't tell anyone," but there was no reason for
Well, I thought it was funny because I know where that hand's been
it.
recently.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe
Gross.
that was the joke.
Maybe.
He's blind. He's like,
So Blossom and Six is in her room. She's telling Six about what she saw, and her reaction was like, "Oh, he drank the booze straight from the bottle, no olives or nothing." And then it was like, "Yeah, well, he was out celebrating 2 years sober, and then he came back and did this." And Six is like, "Wow, maybe he got some like lousy gifts for his 2-year birthday or whatever."
This is where I noticed what Blossom was wearing. I said she's wearing
Okay.
like a kimono or is it a G, or she looks like she's wearing what the 1-2-3 Kid did when he accompanied Razor Ramon to the ring at WrestleMania 11.
Nice.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So Blossom realizes she's getting nothing from Six here, so she's like, "I got to go talk to somebody with more experience from her." Hard cut to Joey in the kitchen with a mouthful of ice cream.
And he doesn't really get it.
No.
She's like, "Joey, he's an alcoholic." And Joey goes, "Maybe he took the weekend off." It's pretty funny.
And then
And then
Six is
Blossom
saying,
says, "No, they can't. Once they start, they can't stop until they're blasted." I don't know why that struck me as funny, but the word "blasted," I don't know, just made me laugh.
"Pretty good word. I like that."
Because it was such a serious. She tried to deliver that so seriously, but there's the word "blasted" is such a funny slang for getting drunk. You probably should have gone with intoxicated, but blasted.
I'm using blasted from now
I was
on.
like, blasted sounds fun.
Yeah. So then she goes and talks to Buzz, and Buzz tells her to talk to Nick, which is the right thing to do.
Right, Buzz is the freaking
Yeah.
normal one today in this episode.
But not before going, above the law. I watched it this morning. It's much better than the book.
What is happening? Why is Buzz the greatest character in this episode?
I've always said Buzz works when he's the background, doesn't have a main story.
With all these flash forwards and flashbacks and cutaway scenes, the clothing changes are so quick and so painfully 90s that I can't track them all. Just know, if you want to see a montage of just amazing 90s fashion, watch the 2/3 into this episode.
Yeah, this episode's a good reference point for sure.
At one point, Blossom is dressed like she's going to a Baptist church in the 40s. Joey has plaid with sleeves cut off and a Fido shirt with some wild necklace.
Yeah.
It just doesn't end. It doesn't end.
Yeah. It's so good. And in the next scene, I actually took note of what Joey was wearing, because Blossom's talking to Nick in the kitchen. She wants to tell him what's going on. Joey bursts in, and I said he can't look any more 1992 than he does here.
100%.
He's freaking out. He's freaking out looking for the Steven Seagal tape, and Nick's like, "Oh, I wanted to see that movie." And then Blossom tells him that Buzz watched it twice. And he just leaves the room kind of pouting. It's pretty funny.
They go back to this thing. They tried to do it last episode where they need to have this serious conversation. They feel like their audience isn't going to go with it, so they have to have this visual comedy thing. It was the bunny suit last time, and now it's it's his stupid glasses. They're trying to have this moment where one of the all you know about the Anthony characters is he's a recovering alcoholic, and now they're finally pulling the trigger on the storyline. He drank, he's fallen off the wagon, and they're doing it with Nick in this really dumb pair of glasses, and I don't know why they feel the need to do this. It's very dumb.
I'll tell you exactly why. It has a point at the very end of this scene. So when she tells Nick what he sees, he like tries gaslighting her into being like, "Oh, you didn't actually see anything. Like you were just, you were just imagining things or whatever." And like it was pretty dramatic. He like refused to believe that Tony had started drinking again. And then she tells him to like check the liquor cabinet, and then he walks out. And this was the entire point of him wearing glasses in this entire episode, is when he opens the liquor cabinet, the bottle was empty. Which at first I was like, "Holy man, I thought he just took like a sip." He cleaned off the entire bottle. And this is where it's like slow pushing on Nick's face, and he dramatically rips his glasses off in disbelief and can't believe that his son, the former alcoholic, drank this whole bottle of vodka. And that was the entire reasoning for him having glasses in this episode.
You really wanted to get that in.
You're right?
He's making a video resume. He's gonna try to get on Saved by the Bell, and he needs that dramatic, like, I don't know,
'Cause
Ted.
I'm pretty sure-
we think you can only do comedy. Show us something serious you do.
Yeah.
He's in there over pushing the wink out of the way, trying to write that scene in where he has to dramatically take off his glasses. Also distracting.
Yeah.
The not one, the not two, but the 3 giant blue recycling bins in the Russo kitchen. 3, Sal.
Yeah, I've pointed this out before. I don't know why they're
3
there.
giant recycling.
They're very
Like,
eco-friendly.
are
in
you
this
sure this is
household.
the first time Anthony started drinking again? Like, there's 3 recycling bins in your kitchen.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah,
totally.
Nick was weirdly aggressive during that.
Yeah.
It was very out of character for him. Because Blossom always seems to be like mostly on the same level as him. Like their thoughts and values and like opinions of everyone else seem to align the most out of his kids, I think. And he just wasn't having it. She's like, yeah, he drank, and he was just like, no, you're an idiot. Get out of my house.
Yeah,
basically.
it was a weird reaction to have. So yeah, Blossom comes down to the living room. Nick's on the couch, and Joey asks Nick if he can get his own VCR. And Nick's like, no, and he's like, ugh, goes back up the stairs.
That sucks.
Tony-
No one will leave the living room. Like the poor guy.
Yeah.
Like he just wants to be home alone to watch.
There's a lot
watch a
going
Steven
on.
Seagal movie, and there's always people in the house. It's like his own little Nick storyline. So Anthony comes home.
Yeah.
Nick points to the empty bottle, and Nick sends Blossom upstairs. He asks what happened, and Tony goes, I guess I needed something to wash down the birthday cake. And there's a pause for like a laugh track, but it's not there. So I think it was there, and they took it out. You know?
Yeah, I don't know.
Because there was a pause where you would
It was
hear
a
the,
weird
"Ha, ha,
pause.
ha," and I think
But
when
then-
they probably watched the episode back, they're like, no, we can't.
Maybe, yeah.
We can't have that there. And honestly, like the nothing where there should be a laugh track kind of made that moment feel big to me.
I think so.
Yeah. They're doing a good job with this. And Anthony just, I don't know. I didn't know how I felt about this, but now looking back, kind of props to them for pulling the trigger over nothing. You know, you would think in a sitcom it would have been when Applegate breaks up with him. That's going to be what's, something bad causes him to spiral. But here they were like, everything was good and he thought he'd have a drink, and he ended up drinking the whole bottle.
And then yeah, so like Nick's flipping out, and he's like, how can I guarantee that this won't happen again? And Tony's like, well, you kind of can't. Like there's,
Yeah.
I mean, he's obviously an addict, so this is something that's just going to follow him for the rest of his life probably. But he was just like, I know that I don't want to drink today, and I don't really want to drink. I want to try to not drink ever again. So I thought the reasoning behind Tony saying like why he did it and his reasoning for why he's not going to do it again, I thought it was pretty good, pretty well.
Yeah, they're handling this very well, except in true Blossom fashion.
Yeah,
they have
I think I know where you're going with this.
Is this the worst joke in like the history of the show so far? Like, he's like, they're having this serious conversation about this one character who fell off the wagon. The whole thing from the beginning of this whole show is that he's a recovering alcoholic, and he finally, in season 3, episode 2, drinks for the first time ever, and it's this big serious moment. They've dropped the laugh track, and Anthony's like, I just decided to have a drink. He's like, everything's great, except, he's like, nothing bothers me except the continual success of Full House.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's been a worse placed joke in like the history of television. It was
No,
just
but I
so
said that's a
dumb.
Don Rio. That is a Don Rio joke for sure.
For sure.
Like he's got to be mad at like the success that Full House is having in
But
1992. Why put that in there?
That's where you
No,
put
I
that.
get it. Yeah, I don't know.
That was probably the most ill-timed thing I've ever seen in this show. It was just
Yeah, but even so, like I don't know if that joke would have been funny anywhere in
well,
this
no,
show. Like,
and I know what you
taking
mean. It's like Don Rio sticking it to Full House 100%.
Well,
but like
he's already
dropping
stuck
that in
into
the middle of
Seinfeld.
this like serious. We have been waiting like 30. What is this episode? Like 36,
Yeah, true.
37.
Yeah, fair.
3 seasons for them to pull the trigger on the storyline, and we get a Full House shot pushed in there
Yeah.
for no reason. Like
I know.
it
Well,
clearly
he's already
like you
made fun of
said,
Seinfeld in this episode. So
you nailed it though. Like he clearly wanted to take a shot at Full House, and I guess he thought this was the place where he had like everybody leaning forward. Just
Right.
dumb. Just absolutely
Yeah.
one of the biggest misses of this show so far was
Yeah.
that joke. You want to dunk on Full House? Hey, I'm
So-
with you, man. I'll dunk on Full House all day, every day, but not during this storyline. You know?
yeah, it was out of place for sure. So Nick says that their deal was he could live there as long as he wasn't using. Tony broke that deal, so now he's kicking him out of the house.
Didn't this happen already?
I think so.
I
But
swear
there's, like-
there's an episode where he thought
There was
Anthony
one
drank.
where like he was gonna make him go get a job, and that's when he started working at the donut shop. I
Oh,
think.
that's what it was. Because he's
Yeah.
also addicted to unemployment.
So, so there's like this tense moment where Tony's walking away, and all I can think of is like, there's just a killer fucking bass riff right here, just killing it, man, so good. The music this season is like 10 out of 10, knocking
Yeah,
it out of the park,
100%.
and I'm here for it.
And
Yeah,
it just goes
so-
from bad to worse, Sal. Okay, everyone's watching TV, and Tardy asks if he likes Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Buzz goes, "He's no Steven Seagal," which I appreciated. But here we have Vintardi or whatever, just chilling on the couch with his arm around Blossom. Nobody's saying anything. You
Yeah.
know, I guess thank Tony for running the distraction. There's bigger things in the Russo house now than this 30-year-old scumbag.
I guess
dating
they're
his-
over it now, and Vinny's
Right?
just there to stay.
And then they tell Nick to call Anthony. And he goes, "I don't know where he is." And Buzz just gets up and goes, "He's at my place," and walks out the front door. I wrote, "Where the hell is fucking Rhonda Joe Applegate?" And
Yeah.
then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, like, we have the biggest character swerve ever. Is this even more forced than the Full House reference? So Tardy suddenly, because everybody wants to know what this guy that Nick doesn't like wants his advice on here, right?
Yeah.
So Tardy gets involved and says, "Can I give you some advice?" And Nick goes, "No," but he continues anyways. He goes, "Have some compression," and Blossom corrects him and says, "compassion," and Joey goes, "He was right the first time," and the crowd thinks that's hilarious, which, sure.
Yeah.
But then out of nowhere, guy in the leather jacket, Vinny, suddenly comes clean and talks about how he has already fallen off. He's 17. He's fallen off the wagon, and he's been sober for 2 years. And Nick does the math and goes, "You were drinking when you were," and Joey goes, 6, doing the Joey math. Okay, that landed. That was an
Yeah.
amazing moment.
But it's funny because while they were all doing the math on the thing, I was like, wait, isn't this guy 17? What is he talking about? 2 years sober from, like
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was also doing the math at the
Yeah.
same time. I was like, holy shit, man. This
So
guy
that's
was
good
drinking
stuff.
when he was 12.
But yeah, so he was 12. And then he goes, "What can I say? Drew Barry was my idol." Take
Yeah.
that, Drew Barrymore. So yeah, we get this backstory that nobody knew. Like, this never came up before.
No.
And I think this is just another layer of why I really don't like this character, and he's a bad fit.
Yeah.
So this guy, we know, even though he seems to have this heart of gold and completely respect Blossom and her, she wants to take everything slow, and he's totally cool with that, despite being from the wrong side of the tracks and this rough guy. And so he's been drinking since 12. Now you would think, like, again, this just is, I can't wrap my head around this character, because I mean, if you're drinking from 12, he's from the rough side of the tracks, obviously he's probably legitimately been like sexually active at a very young age as well. Yet he's attracted to this completely nerdy bookworm girl and is like, "That's cool. I'll sleep in the van while you sleep in the hotel after we ran away together." And it just like,
yeah.
those do not make up this like his
No,
character
this
is
character's
just so all over the
all
place.
over the place.
It's just like
Yeah.
whatever they need him to be, that's his new thing. Blossom
No,
had
that
no
makes
idea.
sense.
This has never come up. He's never met Anthony before, and again, the only thing about the Anthony character is that he's a recovering alcoholic, and he's just kept this to himself until now. Like that has never come up before.
Yeah.
Bad.
And I mean, like, as if like Nick doesn't have enough reasons to hate this guy.
Yeah.
It's like, there's just like more. There's just more to it than I don't know. Yeah, I didn't like this part either. Like they could have left that part out completely.
It was like Rio just took the script and was like, oh, yeah, you Full House, okay, who else is getting it? Drew Barrymore, we're going to write a scene where we just get to point out how Drew Barrymore drank as a kid. I am God. I'm coming for everyone. I'm Don Rio. No one's safe. This is my sandbox.
Yeah.
All right.
So moving on, we get the last two scenes of the show, and by now this letter to her mother is so long. Nick barges into Buzz's apartment, and Tony's just sitting there on the couch, and he like admits that he's wrong, but he like won't let Tony talk, and then like asks him to move back home, but like still won't let him talk, and then like he gives him like a supportive hug and says that he loves him, and the whole audience eats that up.
Mom doesn't care about any of this.
No, of course not. And then she ends the letter to her mom by joking that she would like to hear back from her, but like in a joking manner. She's like, oh, maybe you could, give me a call or something sometime. Like, love, Blossom. And like, it's supposed to be a joke, but it was like, what a deadbeat mother this is. Like, she
Right?
doesn't even call her daughter back.
That letter's straight in the trash.
Yeah, totally. Totally.
There's a lot going on here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, let's wrap it up, man. She goes downstairs, and Buzz has proudly proclaimed that he just watched all of Steven Seagal's movies and basically doesn't know why he stopped doing porn and went to karate movies instead. And that is the final joke of the show.
It sure is.
I will say, though, interesting, Sal. I don't know if you caught this. During the credits, it's mentioned that Jonathan Schmock was the story editor. And that makes sense.
So he's still around.
So he took Don Rio's script and like tried to make it better.
Punch it up, make it better. I don't know.
Those are probably like the good parts of the show. So they're probably at war with whatever Don Rio's crazy, vindictive writing style.
Now we gotta stick it to Seinfeld. We gotta stick it to Full House. We gotta stick it to all these shows. They're all our enemies.
And Jonathan Schmock is like, remember like how we actually have our own characters in our own Blossom universe? We should probably be exploring and expanding. And he's like, you, Drew Barrymore. It's another day at the writing table. It's another day at the Blossom writing table.
Totally.
I'd love to be a fly on that wall.
So what's your takeaway lesson for the week, Curtis?
Have one writer, honestly. One writer, one vision. I don't know I don't even know what I'm watching with this episode. It was like a clip show without being a clip show, Sal.
Yeah.
One vision. There can only be one driver. Give the keys to the Blossom car to Jonathan Schmock and just let him go. Apparently he only actually wrote 7 episodes. So they're like, I don't know, good things come in sevens, like the Dwarfs and Deadly Sins. Schmock episodes.
7 and he's out.
And that's it.
Schmock 7.
He must have just been getting praised too much, and the Rios were like, "No, sorry,
can't allow it.
This is my thing. You're getting too popular with your linear writing and payoffs and character development. We don't need any of that. What we need is to come after Family Matters next, maybe." This is a vehicle.
We're going after Urkel next.
This is just a vehicle for my mania.
Yeah.
It's
like, dude, you have a hit show on TV. Why are you going after all these other hit shows? It's not good enough. It's not good enough.
Let's keep writing Blossom. I wrote 11 seasons last night. Oh my god. Wait till we get to the Baywatch episode. Holy crap.
Amazing. Once again, no pit characters. Nobody new. Nobody came in. Nobody ends up in the pit.
How do I push Rhonda Jo Applegate into the pit? I never
I'm sure
want to
her
see
time
her again.
is coming. Yeah. Well, Vinny too.
Yeah. It's she's a bumpy ride, Sal. I'm not gonna lie. There's been so many like we get that one good episode, and I'm like, oh, they've turned a corner, and then it's right back down, and then we just get these weird episodes like this that
Agreed.
I don't know. That's why we're doing this.
It's a journey, Curtis. It's a journey, and we're gonna
Not a destination. It's a journey.
That's right. We're gonna stick it out to the end.
Put a bow on this one, Phenom. What's happening?
Season 3, Episode 3, No Cure for Love is next week.
It goes down, Sal. It goes down.
Don't know.